Hello and welcome. I hope everyone is having a beautiful day. I'm going to wait for a few folks to join the live and then we will get started with our CCS Alumni Live. I am always excited for these conversations, and today is no different. We have an amazing guest that we'll be talking to from CCS's Fine Arts Department, Craig Nowak. So I am going to go ahead and introduce Craig before we join him into the live here today, just so you can get a little bit of an idea of what he's done in his career to date. So Craig Paul Nowak graduated from CCS with his BFA in Fine Arts from CCS, obviously, in 2006. And during his senior year at CCS, he actually acted as the director and curator for the U245, which is our student-run gallery on campus, where he organized 6 successful shows and actually had 5 solo shows in the U245. Since graduating, he's had quite the extensive resume. Like his experience is crazy. He has been published in periodicals such as Modern Painters, New York Arts, Arte Al Limite, Arte Al Dia, and the Chicago Gallery News. And he's exhibited his work throughout the United States, France, South America. He was actually awarded Best Local Artist from Real Detroit Weekly in 2014. He's done everything from apprenticing with stone sculptors in New Mexico to animating in Italy, from directing and curating for the for Detroit Art Effects Gallery, which is a gallery here in Eastern Market, to participating in 3 different artist residencies. He did an artist residency in Chicago with the Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs, one with Mano Y Mente in New Mexico, and he also did one with the Red Bull House of Art here in Detroit. So he's done a lot. He's created collaborative art experiences with high school students, and he's actually, giving back to the community as a teaching artist with the Community Arts Partnership, which is a part of CCS, and the Farmington Hills Cultural Arts Division. So he's done some of everything: exhibited, apprenticeships, curating, like just so many things that you would want to do as a fine artist. So without further ado, I am going to add Craig to our live so we can start to ask him questions. It looks like he is joining in, so we're going to wait for Paul to accept that invite. Craig, there you are.
How's it going, Brandy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
I see some art behind you.
I set it up just for this.
Is this a personal piece behind you?
Yeah.
It looks huge.
It's pretty big.
Fun. Nice. Well, I'm really glad that you're joining me for this conversation today. I'm really hoping that the folks who tune in get some amazing insights from you and your impressive track record as a fine artist. So I'm going to start off the conversation asking you some general questions. And then for folks who are tuning in, if you want to add your questions to the Q&A box here on Instagram, there's a little box with a question mark in it. You can click that and ask questions for Craig. So if you have questions about being a fine artist, being a CCS student, being a CCS graduate, he'll be able to answer those after we do just a round of general questions. And I know some folks already sent some questions ahead of time, so we'll ask those too. So I just want to start off, for the viewers who aren't familiar with you and your work, can you tell us a little bit about your artist statement or what inspires you to create?
So I make art about the relationship between someone's physical self and their inner self. So thoughts, emotions, histories, anything that you can't see and that is privy to the person who has them. So I've done that using writing, using video, in a roundabout way, using the intangibles, the intuitive thoughts and things like that you don't generally think are about you, but if they come to you or if they inspire you, then they are about you in a self-portrait in their own sense. But yeah, the self-self relationship is my reason for making art. Humanity. We're an interesting creature.
Definitely agree with that. I mean, you've explored humanity in a lot of different mediums, right? You mentioned video and writing, but you've done sculpture, you've done painting. it looks like you have like a breadth of things that you use for your work. Do you have a favorite medium that you use?
Oil makes the most sense. I'm a big fan of ceramic, but it hasn't quite caught on. But oil painting, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All righty. So bring us up to speed. I read through your resume and your bio a little bit, but tell us what you're currently doing in your career and what type of work you're working on now.
Right now, I'm working on collaborative paintings. So because I make art about people, I I only know my own inner self, and if I have to make art about humanity, it really helps me to look at other people and work with other people. So I'm working with a group of College for Creative Studies faculty, staff, and professors.
Mm-hmm.
Not all artists, and I'm painting their portrait, meaning that I'm painting part of their portrait. I'm painting from the neck down, and I'm interviewing them, and I'm asking them a bunch of personal questions that would delve into the internal self.
Mm-hmm.
And they're painting, drawing, sculpting, designing, scribbling their faces. So it's a self-portrait, a portrait, and a biographical interview in one. Then the interview gets etched into the background.
That sounds really
I might
cool.
be losing.
How did you choose the subjects for that project?
As you mentioned, I work with CAP, Community Arts Partnership. So I had a number of people already ready to do it. So I just began asking people, and once I hit a certain number, I stopped. Yeah. So my part of what I was interested in was having people who were both male and female, people who were both artists and not artists. So there's a few people who are they have secretarial jobs or whatever, right? So they don't necessarily work with art, but they participate, and it's interesting results. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a way that folks can view that work? It's still in progress right now, or is it complete?
It's in progress. Yeah, yeah. It was going to be exhibited in the Alumni Faculty Hall at CCS, but then this happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, hopefully we still get a chance to check it out on campus.
I will try.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds like a really, really cool assignment. What has been your favorite project or piece? Can you hear me?
I hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I was just asking, what has been your favorite project or piece that you've worked on in your post-CCS career?
I would probably say there's a large painting that's hanging at CCS that I basically worked on with HFA. I don't know what they're called now. Henry Ford Academy is what it was a few years back. Yeah. It's a 20-foot painting, 10-foot by 20-foot painting, oil painting in collaboration with, I want to say, 20 students, one teacher, and they all painted characters. And I painted a background, and they designed what was going to go back there. So they chose the landscape, they chose what was going to be in the landscape, and then we arranged it within this landscape. It was supposed to be this like sort of delve into a social subconscious to see what it would be like if, you know, you took a bunch of people's random inspirations and put them together, and you know, so it's a reflection of young Detroiters and myself and the teacher who was teaching them, and what our world or dream world would be like. So it was really fun, and we sewed all their paintings on, and it was the first time I ever sewed a painting on to another painting, which I really enjoyed and would like to explore a lot more. So that was probably my favorite.
So that's the piece near the cafeteria in the Topman?
Yeah.
So that looks like it's paint on the wall, but you're saying it's sewn onto each other. So there's a piece of canvas hanging there? That's what that is?
It's a canvas on stretcher bars, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, very big canvas.
It's huge. I thought it was the wall. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right. So I'm going to do a little bit of what I call time traveling in this interview. I do this with everyone because I'm hoping that this conversation will not only inspire, folks who are interested in fine arts, but also students who are interested in pursuing their art, who may be in high school or maybe thinking of transitioning from a community college. So I just want to ask a little bit about your journey to get to where you are today. So what type of art were you working on in high school?
I was drawing in sketchbooks and making friends. The reason I started drawing a lot was because people always loved it. It kind of gave me a little popularity. So I was drawing anime characters in sketchbooks.
We have a lot of students who draw anime characters. That's a common subject matter for students. Did you always want to be an artist or a fine artist? Is that something you always aspired to do?
Definitely, yeah. There was a drawing that existed of my dad as a robot that I did when I was like 2 years old, and that was sort of like my jumping off platform. And I was like, I didn't know I could draw, and then I was like, oh, I love drawing, and then I always look back at it. It disappeared at some point when I began moving around and going to college, but yeah, ever since I can remember.
That's a long track record since you're born an artist practically. Which we all are in some kind of way. Everybody's born with some form of creativity. That's dope. So you knew you wanted to do art. You knew you wanted to be an artist. When it came time for you to go to CCS, did you come straight from high school? Did you transition from another college? What was your path like to get to CCS?
I'm gonna just assume that you stopped because he started breaking up, and I figure I should just keep going. I hope I'm not. Am I breaking up a lot?
No, you seem fine. It may be my end.
Okay.
But I was just asking about your journey to CCS. Was it from high school? Were you already in college? Tell us about that process.
It was an interesting journey. I actually dropped out several times. I was a regular dropout, and had a long sort of adventure going into it, but part of it was I dropped out, went back to secondary, or I don't even know what it's called right now. I went to school where the people who dropped out and were bad kids go, and then they taught me there, and I had a teacher who told me that I could go to college for art. And I had a week before I could submit my portfolio, so they had me call up CCS. I called up CCS. Then I spoke with someone like you, Brandy, and that person told me that I could put together a portfolio and submit it, and I did that in a week, and I got in. And that was basically it. But you're looking frozen again.
I can hear you and see you perfectly fine. Sorry for the tech issues.
I hear you.
Okay.
But
I can hear you too. You're good.
Okay.
But
how about I just give you a tour?
You said what?
How about I give you a tour until I can see you and hear you again?
That works perfect. Yeah, let's do that. Let's check out some of your work.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can't even get a thumbs up. So I'm just going to dive in, all right?
Cool.
So Brandy knows because I've been a part of this project, and I might as well start there. But I said I was doing ceramics, and let's see. There are all these faces that I still have to do, and it's a long process, but it shouldn't be as long as I've spent it. But this one actually, right here, I believe that's Brandy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's still going to be finished. There's been complications with kilns and whatnot, but these are more examples of those faces. Starting to hear you.
How many of those faces have you casted?
There's probably hundreds. They're all over the floor. They're everywhere. I had them in boxes and everything. And it's good that I can hear you again. All right, so should we move forward or?
Yeah, I was enjoying the art tour. I'm like, yeah, show me the work.
Okay. I can keep going.
Yeah, let's check out a few more pieces and then we'll pick it up with some questions.
Okay. So at one point I was doing stencils. Part of
Mm-hmm.
what I've done through my whole career is sort of enjoyed branching out into all the different media. When I first started, I would only do self-portraits, so doing different media allowed me to have something little different to make, right? So making the same oil painting of myself every time was really boring. So I started doing stencils, and they would come out, like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did self-portraits. I did this one of Jay James, who is a guy who has a picture out there that would, uh, of him dressed as Marilyn Monroe. And I just pulled this out because I was like, I'll just pull out something. I don't know if anybody knows who this is. It's hard to tell, but it's a stencil that will be used eventually. It's Gilda Snowden. Um,
Yeah.
so there's going to be a painting of Gilda Snowden, and she was a huge inspiration of mine. But
Mm-hmm.
um, let's see what else we can go look at.
And I see we have some more folks joining the live too. So for those who are just joining us, Craig is showing us some of his artwork. So we're taking a little studio tour. But if you have questions about fine arts, about attending CCS, about being, a gallery displayed artist, a curator, working in schools, teaching, Craig has a lot of different fine arts experience on his resume. So please add your questions to the Q&A box, and I'll make sure to get those asked for you.
Yeah.
So
Did you
Craig,
get
actually, you said what now?
Oh, you can go ahead. I know you said that you had a bunch of questions before.
Yeah, I have a few more. Oh, that's Sabrina. I love that
Yeah.
painting, Sabrina. Absolutely love that painting. So your studio is in your home? Oh, that's
Yeah, it is. I have two
nice.
studios. This one is at my grandmother's house, which I've
Gotcha.
not been going to much since what has been happening.
Hmm.
Um, and then I have one in my home too, yeah.
Do you prefer to work large?
Yeah, I do.
Hmm.
I can work small. I have worked small. Those are tiny little thumbnails,
Holy
right?
whoa. They're very
So,
tiny.
um, I don't know if I enjoy it as much.
Yeah. Really fun work. All
And
right.
then,
So I'm going to get to a few more of these questions while you're showing us some art. You can keep
yeah.
showing us art and I'll keep the questions coming. So when it was time to apply to CCS, you mentioned that person at your alternative school, suggested you apply to CCS. Um,
Mhm.
but while you were at CCS, you did some amazing things, right? You became kind of a star student, especially curating the U245. What role do you feel that played in your career as a fine artist, curating a student-run gallery?
It opened up a lot of opportunities for me.
Mm-hmm.
I went from there, and then I began managing a gallery in Detroit that is no longer around. It was short-lived, more like a pet project of
Mm-hmm.
uh, the Germack family. So
Yeah.
they decided to start it, and then I think it turned into it's still there, or at least something like it is there. Uh, it's a craft shop on the corner in Eastern Market.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but
On the corner near Germac?
no, this one is it's on the corner of the freeway. Right there downtown? There's a bar over there now. Um, I'm so long
I'm
ago, hard for me to remember. Anyway, I was able to do that. It actually sort of really helps out with my current job, where
mm-hmm.
I run an arts program for a place called Kadima Mental Health Services. So I develop
Mm-hmm.
all of their programming. We're working on possibly doing some sort of gallery stuff. It allowed me to curate exhibitions. I curated a really nice show, which I um, loved the experience of, for Red Bull.
Yeah.
And I was able to go all over the place, invite artists from all over the United States, go to their studios. I mean, it all started with doing the U245. So, and not only that, like some of the artists that I was able to show back then, they're huge right now. I don't know if you know Serge.
Serge Gay?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was my roommate. I was showing his work there, and then he goes off and does Snoop Dogg's videos, CeeLo Green's videos, you know. So you make a lot of connections and have a lot of friends that come out of it, you know. So I don't know if that answers the question.
That answered the question. I'm like listening to the answer and being like, oh, your art. I love that your work is so diverse in style. To me, it all says that it's from you. Like there's obviously an aesthetic, but it's so different, which is so cool to see. Yeah. Alrighty. So a couple more questions for me, and then I'm going to open it up to the folks who are joining in.
Sounds good.
So what is one thing you learned or gained from CCS that's really impacted your life?
My life or my career? Being an artist or being a human?
Either. Either. I feel like in many ways they're very related, right?
Yeah, probably. So think back, 2006, man, you know, time flies and you don't realize how long it's been. I would suppose for career, I would say be consistent, which obviously this doesn't show that, but it helps. Follow your passions, really. There's so many things that we can do right now in this world, and to stick with one or that you don't necessarily want to do doesn't make sense when everything is easy access. Tell you one thing that Detroit taught me, and this was Detroit back then. Don't let the rules stop you from doing something like an art show. You know, when I was in college, I always told people I'll have a solo show. I don't, you know, while I'm in college, you know, and people are always like, you don't get a solo show until you graduate. And I wound up doing it. I had a couple of solo shows, and I think that Detroit lent itself to that because we were able to exhibit anywhere. And everywhere sort of lent itself to that, right? Nowadays, I don't think it's quite the same, but
yeah, the city's changed a lot.
And then, yeah, I think that I'll stick with that. I can probably come up with some other answers, but maybe I should sit down and stop showing you guys stuff if I'm going to do that.
Yeah, let's look back at your face. But those are really insightful answers. Being consistent and, you know, don't let the rules limit you. Yeah, I think those are some insightful things to gain from a college education, from a experience, not even education, college experience.
Oh, and if you college, take your time. There's no rush. The world will wait for you, you know? Enjoy those professors and those activities and those assignments and the fact that you have a studio when you're a senior and go abroad, you know? All of those things. I think it's the spot. All right. Go ahead, Brandy.
Is the internet going in and out again?
Yeah, I'm losing you. Let's try out here.
There we go. We haven't been cut all the way off, so I feel like it's still a win if we're still talking. Ooh, and another cool piece. Okay. And then the last, and you sort of, I guess you kind of answered this just now, but you may have a different answer for the specific question. Knowing what you know now about where you landed in your career, what you're doing as an artist, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self or yourself as you were transitioning from high school with yourself?
It was hard to tell what you were saying, but I think you said, knowing what I know now, what would I tell my 18-year-old self?
Yep.
And I feel like I answer that question. My 18-year-old self, take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Finish the job that you start. Um, be a man of your word, stuff like that. But I lost
Big
you
life
again.
advice.
So
I think I heard what
here
you
we
were
go. You're
saying,
back.
though. Yeah, I think I heard what you were saying. Be a man of your word. Finish what you start. Yeah, those are some
Yeah.
sage words to give it 18.
And go big or go
So
home.
go big or go home.
Yeah.
Which it seems like you've been going big. Been going big ever since you stepped out.
Yeah.
All right. So I know one of the questions that was sent ahead of time was, what is art to you?
Oh, I actually appreciate that question. I'm not a huge fan of art in general. Because the art world, at least the fine art world, not art, okay, I won't say art in general, but the fine art world is selfish. People who make fine art make something for themselves. They look out in the world and they observe, they take something that they see, and it's all them. For me, I don't actually like that part of the art world. For me, art it's about society. It's something that without the world around us, we can't actually enjoy in the same way, right? So if you make something, there's nobody to see it, then it's not really art. It's not there. It requires a viewer. It requires someone to experience it. So for me, that person, the other person is essential. So it's not an object. Fine art, again, doesn't really have a definition, and it's been changing ever since it was created. To the point where nowadays it's almost just take anything you want and turn it into something with a message, and it's fine art. There's a whole lot of other stuff that goes into that, such as galleries, museums, collectors, and they dictate whether or not it's worth other people seeing it. But if you make it and you put it in your own little space and you show it to people, technically it's art. It doesn't matter what it is. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you talk about it and you tell people why you did it, and then you got yourself an art show.
And that's what you were talking about earlier, as far as like not letting the rules limit your ability to show your work, show your art.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Beautiful thoughts. There's definitely, I'm gonna end the live and start noodling on the meaning of art now. Yeah. Which never stops as a creative person. So I'm going to see if there are any more questions that folks have added to the live here. Folks, again, if you have just joined, I know we've had some folks jumping in and out, questions about being an artist, about fine arts, about going to CCS, graduating from CCS, curating galleries, showcasing your work, any type of question for artists. Now is a great time to ask one, right? Because we're live with Craig. So I'm going to see if anyone else has any questions in the Q&A box.
I'd just like to say thank you, Brandon. First time I've ever done this, by the way.
Doing an Instagram live?
Yeah. I don't do really well in front of a camera, but yeah.
This was really, you did a great job, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed that we got to see more of your work. I was trying to like share a few snippets here and there to get people enticed. Question for you, Craig, is it okay if we plug your Instagram handle so people can check out more of your work?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
All right, so if you all are interested in seeing more of Craig's work, you can follow him here, and it's at Craig Paul, and I hope I'm pronouncing the last name right, Nowak?
That's how I pronounce it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's at Craig Paul Nowak. Go and follow him. He has some amazing work, beautiful, colorful, vibrant, fun, and thought-provoking work. So hopefully you can go and get some inspiration from there. And again, if you didn't ask your questions here and you want to ask questions, say you're watching the recording of this live later, you can follow him and ask him questions about his work there as well. So I don't think we have any other questions, Craig. I want to thank you so much for giving us a tour of your space, sharing the meaning of art with us from your perspective, and taking us through your journey from, the very beginning at 2 to where you are today. It's been nice talking with you.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Brandy. And thank you, everyone else.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in, and stay tuned because there are more CCS Alumni Live interviews coming up. So keep checking back because I'll keep sharing them, and other opportunities for you to learn more about CCS and how to pursue your creative passion. All right, talk to you all later. Bye, Greg.
Good job. See ya.